And today, we are very lucky that we have with us Aastha Saboo on InFocus by Indoindians. So, InFocus shines a light on the inspiring young people and stories shaping communities in Indonesia and beyond. Each episode takes you into their journeys, their challenges, and their impact, offering authentic insights and fresh perspectives. From rising change makers to creative innovators, InFocus celebrates the power of youth to spark change, connect communities, and inspire us all. Today, in our InFocus with Aastha Saboo, we are very lucky that we are interviewing a business journalist whose career spans some of the most dynamic newsrooms in India and Southeast Asia. From covering a 5,600 crore national spot exchange scam at CNBC TV 18 to reporting on corporate sectors like power, infrastructure, and tax, Aastha's fearless approach earned her a nomination for India's Young Journalist Award. After moving to Indonesia in 2015, yes, it's been 10 years, she became a contributing writer for Forbes Indonesia and the Jakarta Post, and today works as a senior correspondent at Deal Street Asia, a Nikkei-backed financial publication where she specializes in breaking news on private equity, venture capital, and deal shaping the region. Hi, Aastha. Welcome to InFocus.
Hi, Poonamji. Thank you so much, and thank you. Feeling so humbled. Thank you so much, and having you talk to me, feeling very grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Not at all. So that was just my live stream kicking in. So Aastha, we'd like to start off with a few questions about you. So you began as a chemical engineer before moving into journalism. What inspired that leap into business storytelling?
Thank you, Poonamji. Firstly, I just want to go back a little bit to my childhood. I think it goes back to that. So, while growing up as a child, it was always about people for me. It was always about entertaining people, making sure everyone's not bored around me. So, I think I always had this thing about human connection and that whole expression for storytelling and to have people together and asking questions and playing these rapid fire games since I was a child. So all this was there inside, inside me, and then eventually, you got decent grades and you enjoyed math. So life happened. I got into a science stream, and then although media was something in my heart, I think my parents were okay. They were quite supportive that time, and they were like, at least get a degree. If you're getting into engineering, just get a degree. You know how it is, and then you can decide. You can get into media. Just a degree le lo. So they were always like that, and I think that's what happened. For me also, when I was in engineering, I remember I was gravitated on doing a lot of things which were non-tech. So I was a part of a magazine. I was one of the editors of a magazine. I was doing a lot of non-tech events, be it elocution, debates, dramas, dances. So my whole focus was there. I got a job in a software company afterwards, but then luckily, the stars kind of aligned, and this NDTV broadcast training program opened for all graduates, whoever was interested. And I was very lucky that I got an opportunity. I got enrolled into it. I got an opportunity to be a part of NDTV that time. That was my base for journalism. So I learned my broadcast TV there immediately after engineering. And there I learned different things of media. You learn different skills like camera, editing, production, even reporting was a part of it. So that's how I got introduced to media. And after that, I interned in NDTV, and that's when my father, he's a finance person. He's a government official, ex-government official, but a finance man who's written a couple of books on different finance subjects. And he always told me that why don't you give it a shot in business journalism? And it'll be a niche, and you'll probably learn something, and you'll learn something and grow, grow and become bigger in business. So I think that was the biggest thing, and I thank him for that, because that was that decision when I decided to intern in NGTV Profit, started reporting there, and that's it. And I think today I can't think of anything beyond business news. And the impact of a story and business news, that's all I know how to do. Thanks, Poonamji, for this.
Very interesting, Aastha, that you moved from your chemical engineering background into business reporting, also a little encouraged by your dad. At CNBC TV 18, you covered a massive 5,600 crore national spot exchange scam. What What was it like reporting such a high stakes story so early in your career?
Uh, Poonamji, it was extremely crazy. I was in NTTV, and after 2 years, I moved to CNBC TV 18. Out there, all different reporters, they're giving different sectors and beats. So my sector was markets, and out there, that very moment in 2013, when I just joined CNBC TV 18, one of the biggest scams broke out, which was the National Spot Exchange scam. And I remember it was not only about the number or how big it is. It's not about 5,600 crores, but the grit that the story had. We were on ground reporting for months and for days, having meeting different police officials, standing outside economic offences wings in Mumbai, from day after day, chasing court deadlines, chasing stories where 1 second you're interviewing the CEO, the next second things are unraveling, and it's just coming crashing down. So ground reporting. And that's what was just the beauty of it, because you made real strong truthful connections, honest connections. I saw people literally lose their money, cry over it, how their families are getting impacted. So it was a very different reporting. It was not about facts, numbers. It was all human connections. So it really did teach a lot on empathy. So you did learn a huge thing about how reporting is not just numbers. It's about such a big element is to have empathy when you write your stories. And also a big thing is on humility and integrity, because 1 second you're intimidated or you're interviewing the CEOs, and the next second things are unraveling. So I think a lot of learning from that one particular case also.
Yeah, I can see while you were talking about it, how the human impact of all these stories really played very a major part in what you saw and how you developed further. In 2015, after you moved to Indonesia, you've written for Forbes Indonesia and the Jakarta Post, and now the Deal Street Asia. How does reporting on Southeast Asia's business and startup ecosystem compare to India's?
Poonamji, India is massive, right? It's complex, it's massive, and you have so many people chasing for that one story. So the hustle is very different. It's a crazy hustle. I mean, even Indonesia is equally competitive. It has that hustle, but it's in a more organized way. The chaos is there, but in a little more organized way. So I'm just going back to 2015. I think I was reporting in CNBC. Then I got married and moved here. I remember I was working from 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. at night. So suddenly coming here without a job. I mean, I had great support from family, in-laws, everybody. But coming here without a job initially took me a little bit time to settle, because new country, new people. I think it took all of us that time, including you, I'm sure, just coming to a new country. So I think that luckily after 8 months, Forbes happened. And in Forbes, what I really learned was it was a magazine setup. So it's like writing in-depth analysis, diving into the analytical part of stories of what makes good businesses really great. So I think I learned a lot in Forbes that way. And luckily, my heart and my pulse was in daily reportage, daily news. And that's when Deal Street Asia happened. And it's like the perfect combination between daily reporting plus in-depth analysis. So I was lucky that I had both in one in Deal Street Asia. And honestly, I think for Deal Street, it's not just, but even Deal Street, something interesting that happened was, I remember I had that India news hustle, right? Like, texting people and sources any time of the day and be like being a little pushy about it. When are you free? Can we meet next day? And I was taken. I think people were taken a bit aback. They were like, "What is this energy?" So I remember my editors calling me and telling me, "Asa, we need to slow it down a little bit. Can you please write two, three nice, sweet sentences before you ask somebody to meet?" So I think I've also like learned to slow down a little bit, to learn to respect the ways here, and but the beauty of it is, in Deal Street, we have a team in different parts of Asia. We have a team in Philippines, in Vietnam, in China, in Indonesia, in India, and Singapore. And so, you learn and you rub off on each other. So today I look at my Indonesian team and, it's a great hybrid energy. I look at them and I'm like, you guys sound like Indians completely. So you completely the pace, everything, and I'm trying to become a little more warmer and sincere. So I'm like, you rub off on each other, and it's just amazing. I think that's what Deal Street has. And with Jakarta Post, of course, this was a conversation I used to have with my husband that when I move here, I'm going to write news, but a part of me would always want to write a little bit about India and Indonesia, the two countries that I love. So I think this is something that we he also kept pushing, and it's on part of my mind also that I would always want to write about these two countries. So I think this is just out of that, a stem of passion for these two. So I write sometimes opinion posts in the Jakarta Post. That's it.
So a little different question, Astha, but what do you like most about Indonesia?
What do I like most about Indonesia? I love the people. I think this is what the answer is for most of us. I love the people. I think they are the nicest people in the world. And that's what people say, right? Indonesia is like this blind spot in the world. Nobody knows how good it is unless you live here. That's the
True.
beauty of it.
That's true. So, Astha, as a senior correspondent at Dale Street, you thrive on breaking news. What excites you more, the thrill of being first or seeing the ripple effects of the story unfold?
A good question, Puramji. Few years back, for me, it was always about breaking news and being the first one, and always like, because it's like you're winning a goal in a foot. It's like winning a football goal, but in a newsroom setup. It's like, oh, you've done it, you've broken it first before the other publications. But as the years are passing by, I'm realizing it's a lot on the ripple effects of how a story unfolds. When you have investors, founders, fund managers who are reading your story, taking an informed decision, listening to your perspective and changing their viewpoints, how they view a company, I think it's about that at the end of the day, right? That's the impact that you're having on companies and on the kind of decisions people like private companies are taking, companies are taking. So I think that is the bigger thrill today.
The butterfly effect.
Like, yeah.
So, Astha, you've interviewed top leaders and covered powerful companies. Which story or interview has left the deepest impression on you?
Honestly, like I said, right, I had mentioned about the National Spot Exchange scam, right? That kind of changed a lot of perspective about empathy, humility, a lot of things it brought light into. But I won't have a particular story. I think my first few stories of Forbes, one of the first few cover pages of unicorns, of creative artists, plus first few stories of Deal Street Asia, where we were the first ones to break stories, and it was just starting out. I think they're very special because the editors acknowledge and how it's just starting out and you've been there since the beginning, seeing how it grows. So I've been there in the initial few years of the company growing also. So I think those initial few years, those stories that time, I think they were very special. And of
Mm.
course, Jakarta Post writing about India, Indonesia, I think something that I enjoy, and I think it resonates. A lot of people enjoy reading about those two countries. So I think all of them together a little bit. So yeah.
Astha, you spent your career asking tough questions. How does it feel to be on the other side? And if you were interviewing yourself, what's that one tough question you would ask yourself?
Honestly, Purabji, it is so much better to be on your side right now. I feel this is way more scarier. So I remember like, I was like, texting my friends and telling them today that I'm more scared. I was so easy to ask questions. This is more scarier today to be on the other side. So yes, definitely I'd love to be the one asking questions always and forever. And the one question I would want to possibly like, in this fast-paced journalism world, like, are we losing out on something? What do you feel that I had to make a trade-off or balance? And sometimes I feel that in this whole fight or this battle of being the first, because that's what news is about, right? Being the first to report, being the first, kind of you lose out somewhere a little bit of empathy.
Hmm.
And that's where the balance is, and that's where I think we all trying to find our feet there. So that's where I feel is the biggest struggle between for all journalists today. I feel, where do you find that balance?
Yes, a real balance and especially connection with other people through empathy. I think that's really important. And going forward, there are now so many challenges with writing, especially factual, authentic, genuine information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially with AI and all these other news that's coming, which is of various natures. Some of them is really not even authentic. So, what would your advice be for young journalists who want to break into this fast-paced business of business reporting?
You know what, Puramji? I just tell them that you have to read as much as you can, and not only read business and facts and news, just read anything. Read fiction, read non-fiction, read magazines, read whatever you can, because at the end of the day, it's not just about facts and news, it's about stories. It's
Yeah.
about that human connection. As much as you can, you should read. I mean, I'm still finding that, I'm still trying to, okay, I have to finish these books a year. I'm trying to set a target. So I'm also trying to be on this path. But reading definitely is a must. I feel the second thing is one has to be curious. You have to ask any question. And even if it's the most silliest questions, honestly, there's no silly question. You just have to have the ability to just keep asking anything, asking whatever comes to your mind, just ask. Something interesting actually, Poonamji, I'd want to share is what nowadays we do that with my kids also. Now with Chat GPT, we're playing this new game with them where we like ask 2 to 3 questions to Chat GPT once a week or twice a week, and you'll be surprised with the kind of stuff that they ask. My 5-year-old will be like, "Why is Mars red?" My 7-year-old will be like, "Why are we using white and yellow lights? And which country has the biggest skyline?" I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they think. It's so intriguing, when you hear all this. So of course, I mean, the world of AI, I think the person who asks the right questions is going to be the eventual winner in life in this world of AI. You don't need to ask the right questions.
Right. In fact, it is the quality of questions determines
And
the answer you get. And so it's all about having the right prompt and asking the right questions.
absolutely,
And I'm
absolutely.
sure there are many other questions there which we could have asked you, Asta, something more about which is your favorite book, because you spoke about reading.
No, I
So,
think I will still stick to Harry Potter. Imagine, still like I'm still that biggest Harry Potter fan. But no, Poonamji, I just want to add to that also that when you say about a journalist who wants to enter into journalism, someone who wants to enter, something that they need to remember is, of course, irreverence and persistence. Because as a journalist, you sometimes people think there's a thin line between being irreverent and being rude. You don't have to be rude or disrespect anybody, but you just don't have to be intimidated by big titles, by big designations. You need to have the ability to ask the questions irrespective of everything, and just keep chasing the story. There will be many times that there'll be like people are not going to respond to you. You're going to come with dead ends because the story's not going to go anywhere, but you don't have to give up. There's going to be ways to get around it. You will manage, but just don't give up. I think it's very important to be persistent and irreverent as a journalist.
yeah. Thank you, Astha. That was lovely. It was wonderful talking to you and to learn about being a reporter, being a journalist, and how reading and learning, being curious really helps, and how you have to have a very down to earth and persistent attitude towards getting the news right. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
so much,
sharing.
Pooja.